San Francisco's former biggest landlord, which is Veritas, it is now defaulting to the tune of $1 billion in debt. It's trying to sell off 762 San Francisco rent-controlled apartments. What's that going to look like? Who's a buyer for that going to be? Hey, are these located next to the poop emoji map? Time will tell. Let's get into it. Here we go. We're going to watch a little video because, everybody wants to watch a little video. Keep in mind, we're going to watch this video, but keep in mind, this is literally what's going down. This week, Macy's to shutter flagship downtown San Francisco store. I mean, that's one of the most iconic stores in America, right? Oh, it's Macy's, San Francisco. Taking my grandchildren there. My children were raised going there for Christmas, all that good stuff, all those family traditions. Not anymore. Macy's executive team is like, all right, yeah, this isn't making any money. And you got some crazy nut jobs running around and there's nobody shopping in downtown. So ixnay to Macy's in downtown. We've got another one that I haven't talked about much, but Walgreens closes San Francisco Financial District location. Seniors protest. You feel terrible for these seniors that maybe they're in walking proximity with their apartment. They've got to get a ride. They're dependent on somebody else to, get their medication. So when they close down, Walgreens, that's super critical. That you're having Walgreens, CVS, you name it is closing down because they're getting robbed blind and you've got safety factors. So keep those two stories in mind. Macy's, Walgreens been emptied out as we listen to this story. Let's play this story here.
Bustling with people several years ago, but one that, according to the numbers, is now more vacant than it ever has been.
So right now in downtown San Francisco, we have a vacancy rate of a little over 35%, which is the highest that we've ever recorded in the.
That is at 36 and change. This video is from a couple of months ago, and it's going to keep going up.
History of San Francisco.
Colin Yasukochi is executive director of the Tech Insight Center at CBRE, which focuses on the tech industry and how it affects commercial real estate. He says that office vacancy numbers in San Francisco were 3 to 4% pre-pandemic, meaning we've seen at least a 30% increase, and that trend may continue.
We think
that is a massive, massive jump. Other cities are more like in the 20% in their downtown core because you got that whole work from home thing still going on.
That the vacancy rate will probably creep up some more in 2024, probably at least through the first half of the year, I would say.
Agreed.
Because there still are firms who are consolidating and reducing the amount of office space they have.
The challenge still remains remote work and the city's reliance on tech as its largest industry. And those tech workers, they've been working from home for a long time. Many of those businesses are operating successfully from home.
And while the Bay Area Council's Jeff Belisario says homelessness, crime, public safety, and all-around cleanliness are still the top concerns among current and potential San Francisco employers, he also says one thing is true.
It's not a doom loop, right? The numbers don't necessarily suggest that. A doom loop would have high unemployment. Would have businesses running to other cities. That's not where we are. But we're not in a spot where we're thriving and succeeding, right? We're kind of surviving.
We're trying to pivot away from the doom loop here. That's literally what we're doing. All right. So we've still got businesses coming in, but we've got these other factors. And we just saw, you got the bipping going on. You got the poop on the streets. You got the crazy people running around that got cleaned up for 3 days when China leaders came in. I mean, San Francisco doesn't know whether it's coming or going.
Surviving.
While companies like Nordstrom, Cinemark, and Old Navy have closed retail locations in the city, Belisario says San Francisco business license data shows that overall, the city is no longer losing more companies than it's gaining. Still, though, retail vacancy rates have risen to above 18% in Union Square. Kazuko Morgan of Cushman & Wakefield
closed.
Says businesses are opening up, and good news is on the horizon.
There are a fair amount of leases that have been signed that have not been announced. That will be probably forthcoming next year. We have a fair amount of tenants that are under construction. That's going to add to the vibrancy as well.
Morgan says that workers going back to the office and more conventions would both help retail, but the positive image of San Francisco must also get out there too.
Our biggest issue, I think, has been just the backlash with the media and throwing us under the bus, the city.
You threw yourself under the bus with the way you ran the city. Nobody wants to go there. People don't, necessarily want to rent space where you're talking about. You weren't just thrown under the bus. This happened because you deserved it.
And I think that's probably been one of the toughest things that we've had to deal with.
When people, just everyday people go and take video of dozens of people running out of a store, and then all of a sudden you see Walgreens close multiple locations and CVS close multiple. I do think there's something to be said about there are actual problems.
Yeah, there are actual problems, but a lot, those problems exist in every city, right? In every shop.
How many other cities have a poop map, right? How many other cities have vocabulary developed for their criminal element? Bipping. Yeah, well, none that I know of, not even here in Seattle. I mean, we've got problems, but they ain't one of them, right?
Mall, even some of the best with the best security and, your classic high-end and luxury.
Politicians have talked about the recent interest in San Francisco from artificial intelligence companies. Those we talked with said that while that is a definite positive going forward, those AI companies would take up only a portion of the millions of square feet of vacant space available.
Fraction.
J.R. Stone, ABC 7 News.
So what I want you to take away from that is how the media tries to spin away from the fact that they've got some really hardcore issues that aren't going away anytime soon. And meanwhile, you've got this narrative out there that people are trying to, say this is the deal. And you're more like, okay, so then why is Macy's closing? Why is Walgreens closing? Why do we have these closings happening when you're telling us that the sun is blowing up the backside? Okay, all right. I mean, I'll listen to you, but the proof is in the pudding, right? Now you've got San Francisco's biggest landlord. This is a good one. Landlord downfall of the local downfall of San Francisco's one-time biggest residential landlord Varius Investments continues unabated. Now, this story's been going on for a while. Looks like they started to default. Now they are defaulting. Now they're trying to offload assets, right? As they're selling off more San Francisco properties. This time, 23 buildings with 762 rent-controlled apartments. We will admit to a little bit of Schadenfreude, right? Schadenfreude, which is, I had to look that up. I didn't really know what that is. It is taking pleasure in somebody else's demise or somebody else's lack of success. They're having troubles. Ha ha, look at them. They're failing. That's what it is, right? At the financial troubles of San Francisco's former biggest residential landlord, Veritas Investments, as they took millions in PPP loans, despite being a $3 billion company, and their stubbornness led to the closure of the Heights Club Deluxe. But they may not be a $3 billion company anymore, as they started defaulting on $1 billion in loans last May. So interest rates went up, and in commercial land, you've got typically short-term loans. It's not like you go out and get a 30-year mortgage, right? Doesn't happen. So you've got these loans that typically come due. And then if you're refinancing them and you've got fixed rent, meaning your income is, you can't jack up the rents. If you have gone from XYZ payment to considerably higher, you get caught in that middle. All right. Your income stays the same, but your expenses go up. Now your expenses may go to a point where you can't refinance those loans. Meanwhile, and this is the whammy in the commercial, is your values have dropped. So now you don't have that loan to value ratio that you once had because your property, it was maybe once worth this and now it's worth this. And so now they're going to lend you this, you're hosed. And so you got to dump them. You got to try and sell them. And that's what they're trying to do. So they're selling off properties, but it's also an uncertain state of limbo for the tenants of those apartments. Oh, as tenant representative and Housing Rights Committee of San Francisco organizer Brad Hearn told the Chronicle at the time of the May default, the tenants have been told that Veritas isn't doing the soft story, the earthquake retrofit work, because they are in debt. There's probably a bunch of work that should be done to these older buildings. It's ongoing, right? It's typically always ongoing. And if you don't have the cash flow to do it, then you're not going to do it. So this soft story earthquake retrofit, that is not shocking. Not shocking at all. All right. Do you remember when Elon Musk was getting into it with one of San Francisco's finest supervisors? His name is Aaron Peskin. And Elon Musk, he had a 3-word tweet that I thought was super funny back when it was Twitter and not X. And it said, prison for Peskin. Prison for Peskin. Sorry. That's our guy, Aaron Peskin. He's talking about this here. He should be in jail. Hey, guy's just a Looney Tune. There's opportunities for the city to partner with affordable housing developers on small site acquisitions, opportunities to preserve affordable housing, plus keep people in their homes. COPA is a tool that can help. Talking about affordable housing, talking about programs in San Fran. You know, the more that you try and monkey the market, by that meaning, oh, let's buy this and we'll convert it into this and we'll use this taxpayers' money for this. You just can't provide enough housing units. And yet all these folks are like, we need affordable housing. When are we going to get to a point where people recognize in a super expensive city like San Francisco, not everybody's going to be able to live there? It's like all the illegal immigrants going to, and we're going to talk about that in just a little bit, all these illegals going to New York City, where the cost of a tiny, tiny studio apartment without a restroom, its own bathroom, is like $1,200. So there's this notion that housing for everybody. That's not a reality. And so all of these jokers who are, it's affordable, let's preserve affordable housing. Hey, there's a point at which in the marketplace you got to go. If I can't afford this, maybe I got to move. And that is so much of what is out there. There's so many rational and reasonable people that make that decision. But then there's other people who are like, I guess I can't figure out a place to live. I guess I'll just start doing some fentanyl and I'll live on the streets and it'll be fine. I'll just expect the city to pay for me. And that does happen. It does happen. But this whole notion of affordable housing and taking a big segment of the marketplace, making it affordable housing, it's just, especially a city like San Francisco, has a massive deficit. It's just not realistic. So you got these supervisors that are, just, let's do this. It should work out fine. And it just doesn't, because their ideas, their opinions are typically just straight up shenanigans. I should do a story on it, but I don't want to give protesters any more coverage than what they already get. All right. We need a ceasefire in Gaza right now. It's 7,000 miles away and nobody's listening to you. We had that at Seattle City Council meeting on Tuesday. Had a bunch of protesters come in. We had the new president, Sarah Nelson. She is doing work. She's part owner of Fremont Brewing, who is partnering with Alaska Airlines to do a custom beer. It should be cool. It's got a 737 on it. All the doors are still on the image on the beer can. Don't worry. It's not one of those ripped off ones. But Sarah Nelson basically she shut the meeting down 3 times and had the cops come and arrest 6 protesters. These people they're protesting the fact that there are some illegal immigrants in Tukwila, which is, I don't know, a dozen miles south of downtown Seattle, 15 miles south of downtown Seattle. So there's illegal immigrants staying at a church in Tukwila. All the funding has run out. And now all of a sudden, the city of Seattle is somehow responsible for funding that. So these protesters said, let's defund the police and give the money to these illegals. And the Seattle City Council has now kind of gone a little bit conservative And so you had not only the president, you had another council member say, arrest them, get them out of there. So there's this big backlash going on here in Seattle. And that made some local news. And I told myself, I'll talk about that. But, you've got these ridiculous people that want to do things. And it's like, that's not even, you're protesting and nobody's going to listen to you because you're talking about, cause and effect that aren't relational. You can't make that happen. Just like the migrants going to New York City and expecting to have housing and pick up jobs where they can afford housing with their families. It's just not a reality. Affordable housing in San Francisco, flat not a reality. Here in Seattle, not a reality. Now more Veritas tenants face that uncertainty. As the Chronicle reports, the Veritas is trying to sell 23 more San Francisco residential buildings, which contain 762 rent controlled. As seen above, Supervisor Aaron Peskin, he's got some ideas. That guy is just, the Chronicle does not mention which properties Veritas is trying to sell, though they do show a picture of the building at 1320 Lombard Street and listed as among Veritas' 23 building portfolio that's being marketed for sale. But the Chronicle notes that these properties are located in the Alamo Square, Russian Hill, the Mission, Nob Hill, Tenderloin, well. And all these areas are roughly, to the north and east of the Tenderloin. We got No Valley and we got Lower Haight. All right. I mean, who doesn't like the hate, right? Although it's changed wildly, but back in the day, the history was there. It was all just a bunch of liberal hippies running around, right? Just, let's get high and sing some songs. We'll see how this goes. So funny. But the Chronicle obtained a brochure marketing these properties, which refers to them as the neighborhood collection. I was thinking through this part. All right. So how do you sell these? All right. Don't do a walk around a neighborhood. Don't do a neighborhood review. Maybe buy these sight unseen. Hopefully you haven't been to San Fran and hopefully you haven't been to these neighborhoods. Although, Russian Hill, Mission's got some tough stuff. Nob Hill, pretty nice, right? Tenderloin, no. Lower Haight, okay. So it's a mixed bag, right? It is the neighborhood collection. That's how you sell it. It's a collection. Look at the cash stream, the cash flow. Don't look at the poop emoji map. Don't look at that. Don't focus on that. Why do you have a poop emoji map in your neighborhood? Well, because so many of the homeless, crazy people take a deuce on the sidewalk, and we gotta know where that is so people don't step in it. So we can get some cleaning people out there. Located across many of San Francisco's more desirable and very difficult to access neighborhoods, the Neighborhood Collection presents a compelling opportunity to acquire a portfolio of high-quality, single-family rental housing that would be virtually impossible to replicate via one-off acquisitions. That is true. That is true, because when they bought these, the market was absolutely tanking in 2007. It was the Great Recession. So that's when they bought them up. All right, so replicate via one-off acquisitions. And what that means, if you're not used to ridiculous real estate marketing doublespeak, you can't buy them. You'd have a hard time getting this collection all together, buying these one at a time, because they're not going to be available. And that's true. That is very true. But as noted, Peskin, remember Prison for Peskin, he thinks that the city ought to step in and scoop them up, even though they don't have the budget for it, even though their budget is wildly upside down. And they should be, doing things like what Gavin Newsom did when China came to town. He cleaned that bad boy up. He cleaned up that whole area around the UN Plaza, right? He got it spick and span for 3 days, right? So it's kind of one of those things where there's a will, there's a way. You can make it happen, just like the cabin that Steve Irwin in Seattle built when I was out there on Sunday talking with Andrea Suarez from We Heart Seattle, and Jeremy Harris was kind enough to show up. Both of them showed up for my live stream. We were talking about the fact that how long is this going to be here? Is it 3 months? Is it 6 months? And it was 3 days later, weirdly, After Jeremy had a big story, we did a live stream, and Jeremy's done a bunch of stories, but it got picked up by the New York Post. The fact that there's a guy who drove an excavator into a city park, started doing some mining, was doing a little bit of logging, and had at least multiple kind of shelter lean-to things going on in the middle of a critical area of a Seattle park. Apparently somebody high up in Seattle said, enough, shut that guy down. Shut that guy down. So where there's a will, there's a way. If things get bad enough, oh, we need to clean this up. Let's get this bad boy going. That's what San Francisco should be, spending money on. But in order to do that, you're going to have to clean some riffraff off the street. You're going to have to go way harder on the fentanyl folks than Mayor London Breed is doing. You have to put some people in treatment. You have to put some people in jail. Doing a little bit of that now, but is it enough? Well, we'll see how, the sale of these complexes go. But if you look at Macy's and if you look at Walgreens, they are saying, we're not making money on those stores. And, there's a safety factor. We're going to keep the stores open where people aren't, having their lives threatened. We're going to keep those stores open in areas that are actually making us money and don't have the safety factor. So there's that, right? Peskin thinks the city ought to step in if there are opportunities for the city to partner with affordable housing. Yeah, good luck with that. You don't have the budget. You don't have the will. You've just got that progressive idea of, hey, this should be good. This will be great. This will work out like all of our other plans. Meanwhile, the city just keeps going down, Macy's being the big one. I mean, that to a lot of people is like, man, that sucks. Because Macy's is just such one of those multi-generational type deals that, people experience in the holidays and they go shopping. Maybe you get your, that one cool outfit for the next school year, something like that. Go shopping there for Christmas. Is Macy's sells the Frederick and Nelson Frango Mint collection. Frederick and Nelson was an epic store back in the day. Kind of real fancy, and it was around until I was in college, and then it shut down. I think it went banco. Is that right? And it got bought out. I can't even remember. But Frederick and Nelson, Frederick's, that was the store to shop at until it wasn't. So we've got, but that seems unlikely, talking about prison for Peskin, telling the Chronicle, we should just buy it up for affordable housing. Housing is right for everybody. That's where, I think everybody should have a roof over their head. But if you can't afford it, then it's a matter of figuring out your budget and where you need to be. And what has happened in so many big liberal run Democrat blue cities is they've constricted the supply to the point where these things are just so expensive, nobody can afford them except people who make bank, right? We're experiencing that over and over and over. So people are heading to Texas. People are heading to Florida, where you've got more land to spread out, and the developers are doing just that. So it seems unlikely as the city grapples with a budget deficit. There's that reality coming back. That reality is just, whoosh, prison for Peskin right there on the backside. Yeah, there's your reality. It's not going to happen. Yet it's almost a form of poetic justice, as Veritas became San Francisco's biggest landlord by scooping up other struggling landlords' properties during the 2008 recession. It's also a sign of the shifting economic winds. It used to be location, location, location. Now a lot of people say now it's timing, timing, timing. You got to time your buys. You got to time your sells. One of the biggest buyers of the San Francisco properties Veritas is onloading is Brookfield Properties, who themselves are one of the partners that surrendered the former Westfield Center Mall to its lender. We covered that. They were from, where were they from? Somewhere in Europe, I believe. I can't remember where they were. They were not a U.S. based entity. And they basically said, Brookfield Partners basically said, we are dumping all of our U.S. assets, Westfield Center Mall being the major one. And they literally gave the keys back to the lender and said, here you go. Good luck with that. All right. Peace out. We're going overseas. We're going back home. You deal with this how you need to deal with it. So literally the entire mall not only went into default, went back to the lender. Imagine being the lender getting that one back. And that was literally the mall where we had the 400% increase in the human feces in the escalator. It kept happening. You had more and more people. Mall could afford less and less security, more crazy people coming into the mall, taking dumps. And, what's that smell? That's not great. And we all know it's there and we all know it's happening. So you've got this narrative of what I am seeing a lot of right now in San Francisco is AI is going to help us. AI companies coming in, they are going to be, the saviors of San Francisco's commercial office space. And when you think about that, those are the guys that can all literally work from home because they're just, head down on a computer all day long. They know how to network virtually. I mean, that's literally what they do. They create artificial intelligence, and, video conferencing is, something that you just take for granted in that position. So they're not going to need a ton of office space, in my opinion, from what I know. I mean, you're going to have people working all over the world for these companies. And maybe you have a small headquarters in San Francisco, but gone are the days where you took out, you got a 60-story skyscraper and somebody takes out 5 floors. Gone are those days, because now maybe they need half a floor, because these big companies, Amazon just recently, they basically said, all right, we've been harping on you. You got to be back in the office 3 days a week. Yeah, you can pick those 3 days a week. We don't want to give you those. But what they're saying is that if you aren't in the office, if your ass isn't in the office at least 3 days a week, you may not get that promotion. So they are tying time in the office at the physical structure to the individual's ability to further their career. Let's see. I want to work at home a lot. Do I want to get a promotion? I'll make that decision. Whether or not that's actually happening, I don't know. But when you see it, out in the media outlining that, that's for 3 days a week. We're not talking 5. So you've literally cut down, 40% of your demand throughout the week for office spaces for a big company like Amazon in Seattle. How many other companies are saying, man, we only need that like 1 day a week effectively. So what does that office space look like? A fraction of what is out there right now. 30 million square feet is basically vacant. I think that's the number. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. 30 million square feet vacant in San Francisco. You're not going to have a handful of big AI companies come in and say, we're going to take all this down for your new tenants. It's going to be a tiny little fraction of that. So, that's the big hope for San Francisco, is that AI is going to turn things around. I think AI is here. And I think, seeing some of the new technology out there, it's some wild stuff. And I think it's going to change up a lot of industries. There was, who was it? Big producer, former rapper. I can't remember. Jay-Z, somebody like that, married to Beyonce. It was not Ye. It was not Kanye West, but he was building an $800 million studio, all kinds of multimedia studio, the way they do it now. It's not only music, but it's video and it's all, all kinds of stuff. He saw the Sora AI and he put a hold on his development of his studio that's in the process, because he's like, man, if that's true, if they can do that right now, if they're rolling out that kind of technology, we've got AI coming in that is absolutely mind blowing and is going to change things up. To what extent? Who knows? Will it be a savior for San Francisco's office space? Absolutely not. You're going to have to go through this process where a bunch of these buildings go back to their lenders. You're going to have to go through a process where apartments go back. But the apartment thing is you've got massive demand for housing in San Francisco because you constricted the supply and things have gotten super expensive and you're not really building anymore. Kind of like Seattle, outside of Seattle, it's just, things have been constricted. And so you've continually got this big demand because of employment. It's not going to change overnight. So things are expensive, and AI is not going to help, make a huge dent in this problem and, turning this stuff into affordable housing. Good luck with that. That to me is always like, all right, you've already hosed affordable housing in San Francisco, and the market basically did that. So thinking that you're going to turn this stuff around, we'll have to see. But, it's this massive uphill battle that everybody talks about. We just built some more houses. It'll be all okay. No, you got to figure it out. And, don't become homeless and take drugs just because you can't afford it. Got to figure out where you can live. And that's the big rub going on right now, right? People want to think that there is an inherent, you should have affordable housing, all of the, the protesters, affordable housing for everybody. Well, that's not realistic. It's not realistic in these expensive cities. So that's kind of the push back and forth. It'll be really interesting to see who picks up this neighborhood collection in San Francisco. All right, that's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. Love to have you subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell, hit the like button for this video, share with friends and family. That is the greatest way to get this content out. Because if you like it, your friends and family might like it. Who knows? Are they truly friends if they don't like it? We're reasonable here. Throw it out there, see what happens, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks again for being here.